That's okay. Hi. Hi, friend in the background of Sam. The other day, my kids walked in. I'm presenting, and if I turn my turn my camera enough, they come in. So I just join them in. They can join the class if they want.
Yeah, they're going to be going out. We'll have quiet soon.
No worries. Don't worry. Hey, it's cool. Just don't bring, the early in this and in early April, there was that lady who brought her laptop to the washroom. That was
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and sat it down on the ground thinking, I guess she just thought she was participating in, but no camera on. Oh, the camera was on. The camera was on. Yeah.
Find love a video, Christy. Hi.
Hi. Ron, when you do that, I'm trying to see, how do I, oh, okay, there we go. I want to be able to see the people.
You can see the people at the top left.
Got it, and you can scroll through and stuff. Okay. Good.
Well, it's 9:01, everybody, so welcome. So I just wanted to say hello. I met you the other night, and I made you do some homework, but I don't think it was too tough for you. You all watched Netflix, and I see you all had an opinion on what you watched, and it's very timely right now with the election going on down south. But today we have an action-packed day. You're going to learn a lot. It's sort of like the open your mouth up to the fire hose, because there's lots of information today. We're going to have lots of breaks too. So it's not a full session where you're going to be working the whole time and then go from there. But so everybody, I'm Ron Caughlin. You met me the other night, and you probably got my information in my email. And I'm looking for a really great day. I asked that one thing of you today, and that is don't be afraid to speak up and ask a question, okay? Because some of this is, we're gonna go pretty fast. So I just wanna let you know. So to get us started, we are talking about the digital world and e-commerce, and this is sort of what I'm doing every day. So for me, I may speak in a language you're like, I don't know what he's talking about, right? So you all have a vernacular at your hotels, right? It's a certain way to speak. And in the digital world, we have a certain way to speak. So if you don't understand something, say, Ron, that's Greek to me. I don't know what you're talking about. Just let me know, because I don't always know. Little story for you. One of my former roles, I was head of marketing at Toronto Pearson International Airport. And for the first 6 months of my job, I'd go into these meetings, and they'd be talking in this language I had no clue what they were talking about. Talking about the pills and different things. And I finally just went to somebody, what's a pill? And they go, that's a gate. That's a gate. I went, then why don't we just call it a gate? But anyway, so that's kind of, so I just want to make sure that if I speak, I do this every day. I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. So today we're going to talk about, first of all, we're going to talk with Christy and get us going, but then we're going to get into the digital world and digital segmentation, which is something that I'm passionate about, because I think it's really what you learned in the video that made you watch on Netflix about personalization. And we're going to talk about how you use these segments in a really cool way. We're going to do a little exercise together, figure out what segment you belong to, okay? Also, we're going to move into e-commerce strategies, a little bit about paid versus non-paid organic marketing in the world of the digital world. And then we're going to get into a fun topic, which we're all part of, which is the what, the how, the why of social media marketing and how this works today. And we have a guest speaker at the end of the session. His name's Jason Hunt. He's called the Digital Hunter. Last year, he spoke to us as well, but he spoke to us from Israel. So he was at a digital conference. He gets asked to speak all over the world, not right now, obviously. And he came in through Skype at that time and spoke to the class. And it was, everybody was kind of quiet in the class asking him questions because he didn't know how to interact with this whole digital world and the Zoom. But today that's kind of changed. We're all using it all the time. So I'm sure you're going to have lots of questions for him. And he's a great, engaging kind of speaker. Well, so that being said, I wanted to first introduce us to your famous operations person who won lots of awards named Christy Adam. You all know who she is.
Lots of awards. Why would you bring
She's winning awards, so I don't know what to do about that, you know?
Yeah.
So Christy wants us to open the day and talk to you guys about the course and the program, and I'm going to be moving the slides around to help her do that. So I'm going to stop sharing right now.
Okay,
and
good.
I'm
actually just going to send it an email message just to ensure that people that they've got the link, that those that aren't on. I know there are a few of us that can't attend today, Mark from the Sheraton and Jackie, and you can see that Rachel's sort of popping in and out. But if you get this email, just don't freak out because I'm just sending the link out again for those that aren't on. Okay, there we go. Okay, and now I'm going to find where we are. Okay, there we go. Okay, thanks, Ron. Thanks to the many that were part of Tuesday's little kickoff reception. I wanted to do that just so we got acquainted, and we're going to roll right into the session today, but to give you opportunities to share at the break and at lunch and that, so you get reacquainted with where you're at right now, because I think that's sort of quite key to this program. But I'll just kick off by saying welcome back. Welcome back to 7 weeks. We've got 7 special weeks ahead, not even a break. I used to give you, 3 weeks of courses and then a break and then 3 weeks, but we thought, we would change up the calendar so that we would get right through and into these 7 weeks. And because we're not physically with one another and you might have obligations on this Saturday, we'll record. And Ron, I think, are you recording yet?
I am, yes.
Recording. Okay, so be careful what you do. I'll be careful what I say. I like this job. I want to stick around. And so a few housekeeping issues. One is that we are going to probably primarily be using Zoom. We do have a Zoom account. Ron is using a Centennial one today, but Humber does have one, but we'd already set things up and we were using a Zoom account that Ron already had. But in the future, you'll be getting, just like you did with Ron, the connection. I know that Janet really loves Blackboard to do her presentations, but I'm going to try and coax her to get into Zoom. So hopefully you're relatively comfortable with Zoom. One thing I want to mention is that if you're not, or even if you are, don't forget to use the chat bubble on the side. You can, hover your cursor down at the bottom of your screen, and you can either chat directly to Ron or to one another, or you can have secret little chats too, as you well know, probably. But Ron, I'll stay with him for a bit, but he'll manage his chat bubble on his own, just checking in on that on a regular basis. But we encourage you to use that. But also from a housekeeping standpoint, Ron, are you good with people just jumping in and asking a question? How do you want that handled?
I would appreciate that, actually. Yes. So anytime you have a question, just you can raise your hand in Zoom, and I will pause and either say, "Let me finish," and then we'll talk about it. But I encourage discussion. I'd rather it to be a discussion between all of you.
And how do you want them to raise their hands?
So in the bottom part of Zoom, there's a couple ways. You can put up your hand, or you can put up a thumbs up like this and I'll notice that. If not, just message me and then I'll go from there. Okay.
So you can hover over the word participants and then a box pops up and you'll see a little blue hand at the bottom for raise hand. Yeah. Are you seeing that? Okay, so that helps the instructor to know that bing, somebody's raised their hand. Okay. Otherwise, we do this. And if he's watching, otherwise you just jump in. And Ron, you can handle that as best you want to today. So I know that this is a very challenging time. We did a Mentimeter. We did a little poll at the beginning on Tuesday, and more than not are on furlough, laid off, or terminated. And in light of the fact that we want to get right into this content, we're not going to do simple introductions because Ron's gotten to know you via your videos. But at the breaks, Ron's going to leave the screen on, and also at lunch, that'll afford you a time to talk to each other. And my understanding is that a number of you are on a WhatsApp, or you have a WhatsApp, or is it a WhatsApp that you're using? Okay, so you're staying in communicado with each other, but really the essence of this program was not only to deliver content for you and get you at that elevated level and some of the things that you really need to know about as you move along in your career, but it's also to connect with one another. And so despite the fact that we can't touch, feel, kiss, hug, be around each other and pick tables 1 through 5 in the classroom, I encourage you today to connect, to continue connecting with one another, and take the time at the break to shoot the you know what. And if you want to bring, something for lunch, Ron's going to leave the screen on so that you can all be with one another for a form of what I'd call fellowship, so that you can catch up. I didn't want to put anybody in the spot at the beginning of this to say, oh, you know what, I've been let go and I'm furloughed and I'm not dealing well with it, because I want to kick off on a high for one. But it's not your fault what happened. And we're all going through is, a global challenging situation. And as a leader, I'm sure you've had to share this message with your team, and you've been shared this message by your team as well. But it's completely out of our control. And we come from, and we are in a most spectacular industry that always gets hit hard because we're discretionary income most of the time, most often. This is we can opt out. I was around for 9/11, and I just remember thinking, wow, how can this come to a standstill? An industry that I felt everybody needed. But as you well know, it's not your fault. We didn't create this. This came as, I do have a little bit of insight on that to say that we didn't create it, but we did as a whole create it, and we need to do better. But the positions that most of us are in our group, we're not your choice. And we are in a beautiful industry that is an economic driver, not only in Toronto, not only in our province, but substantially in our country and around the world. And we are on a timeout. We are on a pause, unfortunately, and things will look different, but we will come back. Some of you may stay in the industry, some of you may not. And I was on the phone yesterday with 2 people that I worked with a number of years ago, and we've all sort of changed a little bit. And we said if it weren't for the hotel industry, we would never be where we are today. One of the girls is a VP actually for a thermometer company. And she said, every day I wake up and say, I'm happy that I'm working, but if it wasn't for the hotel business, I would not be where I am today, because it trained me and taught me how to be resilient in tough times. So we get that people are in all different facets, but we know that we are a super cool cohort. You know that we talked behind your back about you a lot and kept saying, don't tell the other cohorts. This cohort's a really good cohort. But we probably said that to the last cohort too, but this cohort was a really stellar cohort that connected so well with one another. So please continue to do that. I encourage you, and share your ups and downs and ins and outs. And Ron and I have shared a lot of our ups and downs and ins and outs together as well. And we're doing that at the college as we struggle with some things as well. So look to one another, because that's really a key component of this program. All right, so as I said on Tuesday, there's no better time for education. Here we are on a Saturday. Some of you will be joining us being at work, coming in and going out, and that's perfectly awesome. As we are recording, you can come and go, so that's kind of different. Don't feel that you're going to miss out. You can catch up by viewing the sessions. I ask, though, if you are going to be absent, that you do send me and the respective faculty member an email message, because we're going to be doing group activities and we want to make sure that we know who's attending and who might be missing. And I think sometimes in the revenue management one, we do coordinate groups based on size of properties and things like that. So it's essential that we know who's coming and who's not. So if you'd kindly tell us that. Okay, so Ron's got us on the website for learn.humber.ca. And we probably, here's something good that came out of going virtually. We probably should have had one of these sites from the get-go, because you're in a course. But when we do corporate training, we don't always do it this way. And now we know we can do better. So I asked you to see if you could log on to learn.humber.ca, or Blackboard is what we're going to call it moving forward, with your login coordinates so that you'll know how we're sharing content moving forward. If you're challenged and not able to get into Blackboard, you need to connect with me and I'll send you some information. I'm going to try to ask you to do it on your own to get the setup going. College is closed right now, so you can't talk to anybody over the weekend. But if you're having challenges doing that whole login thing and getting your N number, do connect with me and I'll help you. I want you to use this site. And Ron, you've got a hold of the cursor of the.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, so a couple things. When you land on this page, it looks kind of busy, but what I want you to look at is primarily the left-hand side. And if you click on the home page tab, you'll see that we are, oh, sorry, that's not what I wanted. The program calendar, we'll go to that. How about that? I've loaded the program calendar that I sent to you earlier. Donna is confirmed for December the 5th. So what you received, you could click, well, no, if you click on it, it's going to download and we can't open it. But if you click on that when you're in Blackboard, you'll get the full calendar. It's exactly as I sent it to you via an email message. And as I said, Donna is confirmed. It was tentative for the 5th because there's a lot going on in her world, but we're good for the next 7 weekends. The other thing, you can click on weekly modules, and you'll see that the shells for the remaining modules are there. Ron's is fully populated, but as you scroll down, you'll see that Janet, Wendy's, and Donna's are just there as shells, and that's where you're going to get content moving forward. When we pop into capstone report, I have posted the capstone report there. Small discussion here just to say that I've changed the date and updated the date to January the 18th for submission. But there are questions out there with people saying, you know what, I'm furloughed or I'm terminated. I'm not back and I'm not planning to go back to that location. What am I going to do? I think I would like you to take this assignment and build it as it best suits you, in the sense that if you're still at your property or you're not, what are you going to do with this content? How are you going to use it for your professional development? So those that are still in their locations, it's relatively self-explanatory how you might do that. For those that are furloughed with the intent to return, I think you have to look at the capstone like that. What would you do? How would you use this material upon return, or even while you're off? How do you see it being effectively used? And for those that aren't going back to their location, how do you want to use this content for future reference, for other opportunities? Because even when we talk specifically about revenue management, I think social media and e-marketing and e-commerce is, you can use that in any facet, but revenue management, Wendy's looking at it beyond just, okay, if you were just in your hotel. So take your time with each module. Human resources and hospitality law, I mean, it's HR and law, it can be used anywhere. I think you need to go through the sessions, see how you think you want to manipulate the content. And if you have any questions, talk to me, shoot me an email, set up a phone call, whatever works for you. But the report is not, it was never intended for your GM or for the GTHA. It was intended for your personal and professional growth. So look at it from that perspective. And again, if you have any questions or need assistance from me, just reach out. Any questions now on that? No hands up, no chat bubble. Okay, all right, great. And then back to Blackboard. I have a little tab there that's listed as our online live sessions using Blackboard. If one of the instructors decides to do a course using Blackboard, it'll automatically populate a link showing you, here's the recorded session. Obviously now there's nothing there, so you can always use that. I'll also, Ron, I think this is what I was going to do. Instead of him, I don't know, you tell me what you think. Did you want to embed your recorded link in your weekly module, or do you want me to leave a tab where each weekly module would be posted?
I will post an update in my weekly module, the recording of today's session.
Okay, okay, perfect. So each faculty member will embed it within each of their tabs. So
And I'll post that by Monday. It just takes, sometimes it takes such a large file, it takes time. And sometimes I just post a link to it because it's such a large file.
Right on. Okay, so I'm just winding down here. Just a reminder to keep that interaction going. I talked to Shauna Jascott, who was in the program 2 years ago, and I know she works with you, Sam, at the Hilton. And she said, "Oh no, you're not finished. You had to move it later." Of course you did, because of COVID. She said, "Oh, I love the interaction part. Oh, will they miss out on the interaction part?" And I said, "Yeah, the hug and the kiss and the love and the squeeze and all of that. Can't do that." Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. What were we creating there? But connecting here and chatting on the side, it's okay. Engaging at any time in the middle of a presentation, do so as you normally would, and take those breaks to talk to each other. And as I said, we're leaving time for lunch today for an opportunity to reconnect with each other, because you know what you talk about, you say you're going to do it, and everybody's busy, and we understand that. So I think that's it for me. Off you go. I will be popping in and out, and probably I'm going to shut my camera off, but we're asking you to keep your camera on and be ready to, wow, really? That has a good filter on it.
Look at her.
I would say that get comfortable with muting and unmuting yourself, because we'd like to hear your commentary, but don't feel worried that, oh, there's action going on in the background. Things are going to happen, like, don't worry about it, it's going to happen. If you need to use the washroom, you'd get up in the middle of the class and go to the washroom. So off you go. If you need to grab a mug of something, you can do that too, but your faculty member will be keeping you engaged. I use this mug, but I often have to put my hand over it because, and I think this is sort of fitting, and this will be my final comment. My mug says, "A wise woman once said, 'Fuck this shit,' and she lived happily ever after." I just swore. It's terrible, but it's true, because we're going through tough times. We are. So with that, I will leave you be. Enjoy your education. Love seeing your gorgeous and beautiful faces, and have fun, and see you again.
Thank you, Christy.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Well, welcome back, everybody, and thank you, Christy, for that opening. So today we're going to ease into it. Before we start, I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am, so why I've been asked to be your instructor today and to spend the day, this day, and then 2 weeks from now. I'm just going to reshare my screen, so 1 second here. Uh-oh, I may have a problem. Guys, I have to leave the meeting and come back. It's not working properly. So I'm going to leave and come right back. Okay. I'll stay on. I'm going to give somebody, I'll give I don't know, somebody else the controls here, and I'll be right back.
Hey, Ronnie, you're on control now.
I am. Angie, how's the baby?
Oh, everybody, I'm back. Sorry about that. Something happened to my computer and it died. So I'm back here, but that's okay. We're going to be fine. So today, I'm going to spend the day talking about digital marketing, something that I do every day. I do digital marketing, social media marketing for my clients, and it's become a very busy time during COVID. So for me, the stress has been not, I don't have any work. It was for about a month. Then it became like an onslaught, like a dump truck of work that happened. and it became almost too much. I was able to hire people online. I've never met them in person, and they're virtually working for me right now. It's a different world, let me tell you. And I've actually kind of like it because I just walk down my hall and go into my office and start working. So it's okay, you know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen again, as you can see, and we'll get started with today. So as mentioned, little bit about me. So I've been in marketing for over 20 years. I've been the head of marketing for different places, and I started in the ad world back in the late 80s, early 90s, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But I've been around the block, and the nice thing about this, I was a traditional marketer, okay, that converted really, really quickly back in 2009 into a digital marketer, and that has helped me in my career because I can tell you that the world has shifted, and especially the last 3 years, and especially the last 6 months. So I have a company that I run called Branded. Branded is it started as a mostly brand strategy firm where I worked with hospitality clients. My first client was Ontario Tourism. My second client was Niagara Tourism. My third client was Muskoka Tourism and the RTOs. And that just kind of went from there. But this company that I run is mostly done virtually. So I have employees. I have about 5 employees. Actually, it's more than that now. But they're all over Canada, the people that work for me. And it's a different world. So the other thing that I can tell you about during COVID, and I'll just click on this, is that I started a blog. And that blog, I'll show it to, is actually a podcast. So that podcast, which I started at the beginning of COVID, you can hear it in Spotify or on Google Podcasts or in, it's a podcast where I'm interviewing leaders in the hospitality area. So my last one was with Beth Potter. She's the president of TIO, and Cyrus Cooper, who was the head of Bonacini Restaurants, but Oliver Bonacini Restaurants. He's now a professor and has a company. We had a really great discussion. And then I have all these different ones that I've been doing. I launch every 2 weeks. So if you want to need a 20-minute break and listen to an interesting bunch of people, mostly I'm interviewing leaders, CEOs, and presidents of organizations and getting their perspective today of the new normal and what's been happening and how it affected their company. One of the first ones I did was with Desmond Edwards. He's the senior vice president of marketing for Nando's restaurants. So you probably all heard of Nando's, right? And Nando's went through a huge shift in how they can operate during COVID. And he had to talk about the stresses involved with that, the mental health issues that came out of that with their staff and how they were supporting one another. And it was quite a really engaging discussion. But Desmond also, I'll show you where this one is. Desmond also talked a lot about, there's Jason, he's joining us. He was one of my podcast members, but this is Desmond here. So Desmond talked a lot about the George Floyd situation and how it affected him. And he talked, and it was very powerful and very emotional discussion. And if you watch any of these, listen to Desmond. Also, I had a great interview with, the next one was Shane Skillen, and Shane is the president of Hot Spec Research. They've done research on the COVID situation and how it's affected people and their mental health. And in his session, he offered a free mental health support. So basically his company, through his situation with his provider that he uses to health provider and program, he talked about how he's supporting all his employees with mental health support and counseling. And it was fabulous because he also offered it up free for anybody that listened to the podcast. All you had to do was email him and get free support. I also interviewed David Kincaid. He's a world-class marketer, and he's actually recently, him and I have started a new band. So I play guitar, you can see in the back, and he's a drummer. And through this podcast, we learned, hey, we have a similar passion, and we've started playing again. It's been wonderful. So if you have a chance, take a listen. But this is my company. I have lots of different clients, and I'll share with that, who that is. So I've kind of been around the block in marketing, and I've shifted my career, but I started off working for an ad firm called BBDO. BBDO is a very large advertising firm. Some of my clients you can see down here were Dairy Queen, the Salvation Army. I worked on Cloverleaf, Kraft, and Microsoft. I also worked at Cassette, which is another big ad firm. It was actually the largest firm in Canada. And I was the VP Client Service Director there. And my biggest client, I had 2 clients because they were so big. And I had managed about 60 people in the agency and different teams to execute the McDonald's business and Bell. And from there, I went on to run Launch Brand Marketing, which is a brand firm and an experiential marketing firm. I've worked for TNS, which is a very large research firm where I did their marketing for them. So I have lots of different clients. You can see here a myriad, but the majority of the clients that I've had are hospitality and tourism clients. And so that kind of led me to become a client myself. And I was head of marketing for Tim Hortons. You've probably heard of them before. I was head of their regional marketing. I also left there to go back to one of my clients at BBDO and be head of marketing at Dairy Queen and Orange Julius for International Dairy Queen in North America. I left there and became head of marketing at Toronto Pearson International Airport, the GTHA. And then I left there to become on a secondment to become on contract for about 2 years as on the head of marketing for North America for Ontario Tourism. So a little bit of experience, and I'm kind of proud of some things I did. But one of the famous ads that I've done, I'm going to share with you. Do you want to see it? Okay, so this ad was done to launch. It was launched in the Van Hock Olympics, which is in 2010. It's an ad that kind of speaks to that was done digitally as well as on social media and on network broadcasts. So we have basically sponsored the Canadian Olympic Association, the broadcast, and we launched this spot, which was an experiential marketing spot that we had done where we went across the province and we did a competition to get bands to play this song that we had developed called There's No Place Like This. Okay, so this campaign ended up having 9 different versions of this spot with different bands, but we started it all off with this spot, and it was used for about 4 years. Then they took it away, and then they brought it back for the other Olympics that happened 4 years later. So I'll play it for you, see, just to start us off. Okay. Can you see the ad? Okay.
And feel inspired because you're my place to be, who I was meant to be. There's something in this world that's unlike ours. Come on! Oh, there's no place like this where I've been. There's no dream like this that I've seen. There's no dream like this that I've seen. Yeah. There's no place like this to be free. Oh, there's no place like this. Anyone can see. I'm in Ontario now. There's no place like this for me.
Okay, so what's at the end here? What do you see? Book 2 nights and get 3rd night free. So this ad was designed to drive visitation and hotel bookings because Ontario Tourism and Tourism Toronto partner with the GTHA. And the idea was to create ads for the partners around the province and drive tourism dollars as well as to drive bookings. Okay. This was a digital ad as well, and done on social media, as well as kind of an integrated spot that we also did on our social media channels. And the goal was to try and measure the success of this offer with the various hotels that had partnered with us and resorts across the province. So this was one that won a bunch of awards. So it won a Summit Award, as well as an Ontario Tourism Marketing Award. It was designed to engage people, and it was a campaign, an integrated campaign that went out there, and it was very successful. So I just wanted to share with you. I could have shown you. Actually, I've done probably 100 commercials, so I can't show them all to you. But I thought this one was very relevant because it's Ontario tourism, and I'm sure you've seen it before. Have y'all heard about this one before? And probably have, right?
Yeah.
So this campaign also drove a lot of traffic to the hotels, and we were able to measure this and really provide a kind of a return on our investment from the marketing dollars that we had spent, and drive people to the booking engines, which what we're going to talk about today, which is critical to e-commerce, is getting people and consumers to behave in a manner that we want them to, so that we can target people who are interested in our products and services, our hotel, and target them in a way that that they want to be targeted. Okay, so you've probably all seen things on your Instagram page or your Facebook page that have really annoyed you, haven't you? I'm sure you have. Why did they serve me this? Right? Why are they sending me this ad? And that's because they haven't applied the concepts that I shared with you in that video this week, The Great Hack. Okay, so you all got to watch that video. We're going to come back to that in a minute, but that video was there to get you emotionally charged. I'm sure it upset some of you. Did it upset you? Anybody?
No, I don't think it upset me. It got you thinking. It's a lot of stuff that's kind of there in the back of our heads anyways, I feel.
Yeah.
Definitely a bit of an eye-opener and concerning, but wasn't upset by it. It's important what we do with the information, I think.
You know, before we started today, Christy came on and she said, I'm pissed off, she said. And I said, why? Well, because it just made her more angry to Zuckerberg, and to the various people out there that are doing this. But there's a way, and that's why I asked you to do this ethically sound, not unethically, right? So we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. So this idea of social media marketing and Google marketing and the digital world is really the world that I'm living in right now. But before we get going like 1,000 miles an hour here into this, I kind of want to ease into this. So what I like you to do, and I want you in the chat area to, when you think of the word digital e-commerce, I want you to put in the chat area what comes to mind first, just right now. Just quickly type into the chat area what comes to mind.
All right, I will stop doing this. Everybody cool with knowing how to use the chat area? Anybody not know how to use the chat area?
The chat area is on the bottom in the middle. You'll see screen share and chat. You just click on chat and you can just type in a message and then hit enter, and it will come out on the chat area here. All right, here we go. So we got selling via the internet. We got marketing via the internet. We have electronic marketing. We have selling products on the internet. We have online marketing, digital platforms, selling online, larger scope audience viewers. We have marketing. We have marketing online. We have promotions and products for other forms of digital platforms. What else do we got, guys? Targeted ads. Yes, targeted ads. Anything else, guys? Okay, so that's a good start. You know, and all those things that we are looking at here, we are going to talk about today. Everything you've mentioned. One of the things I do in class is I create a word, kind of like a Wordle that everybody contributes to, and then we take a shot with that Wordle, usually with these words. But we're in the digital platform, so we can't do it today. but I appreciate all, getting us started here and participating. And so I also appreciated all your videos that you sent to me. And one of the other things I'd like to know is, can anybody tell me anything that they've seen in COVID, like a social media campaign that has stuck out or is very memorable that they recall? Does anybody remember anything? It's been nothing. How about outside? Any campaigns that you've seen that are viral campaigns that you recall or remember?
Actually, I was driving to work every day by Pearson, and there is a big ad saying thank you for essential workers. And right after they show the proper way to wear a mask and so on. And it's kind of in your face and it's good and I like it. And it keeps you alert and brings attention back to the situation.
Yeah, so that was on an actual digital billboard, correct? Okay. What about on social media, guys? Anything else you've seen or recall? How about something that went viral that wasn't an ad?
I think there was a beer commercial that I saw where people were enjoying a beer via Zoom instead of in person. Just kind of shows how we've transitioned from, being at bars and stuff to moving on to an online platform.
Yeah, that's a very good one. That one, there's been a lot of people playing that up. And so thank you for sharing that. Do you remember the beer, the brand?
I want to say Coors Light, not sure though.
So, guys, feel free to speak up, but I may call on you too, just so you know, okay, as we go along. How about you, Sam? Do you remember anything? It's okay.
So are you talking to me or Samad? Because we both go by Sam.
Oh, sorry, Samad. Sorry, yeah.
No worries. Sam is good. Not really, nothing on top of my head at the moment, but I saw once, but that again, that wasn't like a digital one. It's just like an ad about like what if you have someone with COVID in quarantine at home and what to do and how to practice the social distancing with that person or family member and so on. So, but nothing on in a form of like digital or anything like that.
Sure. Yeah. How about you, Louise?
I don't really go on social media that much because I don't like it really. But the one that stands out was that beer one that Walker mentioned, but also when everything in Toronto lit up purple for hospitality, and it was just kind of hospitality strong everywhere.
Yeah. And that one meant that was special to you, obviously being in the industry. So I think a lot of these campaigns are actually out there. And this is the hard part. You don't always remember them, right, as consumers. And that's why I bring it up. But once in a while, there's ones that speak to you so closely that you do recall them. And that's because they're emotionally charged. They mean something to you. They're personalized to you. The problem, I call it a digital wasteland out there. What I mean by that is that a lot of marketers are not targeting you as an individual. They're targeting everybody, just like we used to do in the old traditional round of marketing. And therefore, you're getting ads that aren't designed for you. And it's upsetting. Now, we're going to learn about something today called retargeting and remarketing in this digital world. And so marketers today use this technique, and they use it every day to make it very specific to you. So has anyone bought anything on Amazon recently over COVID?
My goodness, yes.
What did you buy?
Oh, let's not even go there. So many things.
Now, when you Googled something and you checked something out on a manufacturer's site or whatever, did you get an ad later on your social feed or an email sent to you?
Within 5 minutes, I usually see it on Instagram. It's like linked. The minute I Google shoes of some brand, 2 minutes later on my Instagram, I see it. It's connected. They're listening.
So it's like it's, and has anybody talked to does anybody have a Google Home here or Alexis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been talking about something and then later on you got a email or you got an ad on your Instagram channel? Anybody?
Mhm.
Yep.
Even not necessarily just the Google Home. I've been like in a store and been talking about Subway for lunch or something, and then I get an ad on Instagram for it. It's wild.
Yeah. So this is what a little bit of the video we watched, which was talking about our digital security and our personal privacy. And it's hard to control, but that's really what some marketers use in a very ethical way, because they think it's for you and they think you want it. And they're trying to persuade you towards doing something. So they feel it's fine as long as it's ethical. When it becomes related to negative political concerns, they push the buttons to get people to act a certain way. And that is what it's upsetting to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's also upsetting that you talk and then someone's serving you an ad because they heard you talking in your own house. It's like Big Daddy's listening, right? So there was a big backlash. Anybody hear about this big backlash from the Canadian government of an app they recently?
Yeah, the COVID app, right?
The
Yeah, the
COVID.
COVID app. And what was the concern? What's the matter?
I guess that a lot of the permissions for the app were kind of behind the scenes, were they not? Through Google and things like that. And it's tracking your location. So I think that was the major concern, is that there is some form of invasion of privacy, you could argue.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was.
There wasn't much transparency, I think, when it first came out.
Yeah. One of the other issues with it is big government collecting your data.
Yeah.
Right. And so do you want the Canadian government to infiltrate your life and know where you are all the time and track your behavior, track your usage, track where you are? That was the concern. And it's still a concern, which is holding back a lot of people. From only 30% of Canadians have 33% have uploaded that app and actually use it. So this the idea of the data world is what we're going to talk a lot about today. What I want to introduce you to is this kind of the future of digital and social media marketing. Okay, so it used to be pretty simple. You know, you had a consumer like you're a consumer, you consume products and services. You saw some mass media, this is like 10 years ago, okay? You saw some mass media, you went to a store, you maybe talked to some family and friends, you went back or you went to that store, you were still at that store and you bought the product, right? Does anybody really follow this path anymore? No. Looks a little bit more like this, okay? The reality is, looks like this. People start, actually 94% of Canadians start their path to purchase. And this is even more exemplified in the travel tourism category on Google. So on Google, people search terms and phrases and they start their search. Now, the smart marketers have taken that information and they are using the data to help serve other ads, but to you on social media, on YouTube. You may start right on a manufacturer's site. Very infrequently, you just go to a store and that's where you start, right? And so because of this, marketers have learned to use the data to inspire you or entice you to move along that path to purchase. And that's very true in the travel tourism category to get you to book at a hotel, for example. So marketers have 3 seconds. That's all they have in terms of time to capture your attention in the digital world, which it's pretty tough to do that. So that's why when I asked you, what's your favorite socials campaign? A lot of you are like, I don't know, I can't remember, right? And that's the reality of it. So it's a pretty tough job to do this. Now, the digital world is full of all these tactics that we're using to engage consumers to act, to persuade them towards our products and services, to book travel, to book hotels. And there's a lot of different tactics that they're using, but the digital world and social media really is just a tactic. It's another form of tactic, like a traditional ad that you'd see on television or network television. It's just another form of communication to get people to engage them towards your brand and services. The important thing to know, though, is good marketers and big brands, like big brands in the hotel chain, are using a myriad of tactics to connect to their customers or past customers. And so that's the key today. And those different tools are everything from, programmatic social, Bing, Yahoo, Google, display ads, AdWords, customer relationship management systems. They're all in place. Anybody know what a customer relationship management or a CRM system is? Anybody heard that term? CRM?
Yes, I think it's a system used to track issues that the customer had or preferences and kind of like notify the hotel before their arrival.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that the systems that are related to, for example, analyze the data that we receive back from the guest reviews? For example, we have Medallia, guest sends a review about their stay, then they analyze the data and send that back to us. Is that it?
That's part of it, yes. There's more. Anybody else? So you all have a reservation system, right, at your hotels, or you did?
Yes.
Those reservation systems are tied to a CRM platform, which is just a tool in the background that basically manages the life cycle and the whole life of a customer. So once it gets into the system, their ultimate goal as a marketer is to drive more room visitations or more visitations to other parts of their company or other brands that they may have as a hotel. And so they manage that life cycle and they try to segment each customer into the most profitable customers and those that could become the most profitable customers. Okay. So the CRM platform is what runs the analysis of the life cycle of a customer behind the scenes. Okay. So that does the analytics. It tells you when to send certain messages. It's tied to the marketing program. It does all those things. It sends emails, it links up to the loyalty program, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you'll know from a numbered perspective how it performs. So the important part of this is within those platforms and other platforms where we got all this data about individuals, personalized data. And so marketers take that data and they create personas or segments. Those personas are used to market to certain people based on their beliefs, their desires, their wants, their needs, their things they like, they hate, all those things with personalized marketing messages. So it's changed dramatically from the traditional world where we tried to reach 90% of the target group with an ad, right? Today, we're going to pick people out, send different messages based on how they behave. Big change, right? That's very efficient. So it allows the marketers to spend the money more strategically and more targeted and more individually when they do marketing programs. Also, they take that information, for example, and they cluster that into groups of people or personas. And then that they do is they call them something. Like this might be a persona called Jenny. Okay, so Jenny, the persona, is a young executive. She's a millennial. She likes hiking. So we combine lifestyle habits and things she likes and doesn't like. She flies to New York twice a year. And she converts 72% of the time when we give her upsells, because we know that from her past behavior, collected in our CRM tool that we use to analyze all the information we're getting on our customers and what they do. In addition, we learn through time by tracking her where she lives online and how she lives online, and where, therefore, as a marketer, how are we going to serve ads to her, and where that, you know, she might be a huge Facebook fan, or she may be like Louise, who can't stand Facebook, right, anymore. And so she might be a different segment where we're going to target Louise through other forms of digital marketing to get to Louise, as an example. And it's all about personalized marketing messages by analyzing that data and deciding where we're going to send messages and how we're going to do that. And therefore, what's really driving, and that's why I shared with you again that video on the Great Hack, there's companies out there like Cambridge Analytica, which is no longer around, that take this data and help make more meaning to it, more information. I worked for TNS Research. We did that, but we combined it with research data as well. We would give that to our clients so they can make better decisions on their marketing efforts and their e-commerce efforts as a whole. Wow, a lot of information. So I have this term. So I used to be, when I first started off my business back in 2013, I had been on the speaking tour at TNS, and people continued to call me afterwards to go and speak about this whole idea of personalized messages and segments, and how we were going to, you know, how marketers are using content, but how marketers are abusing the platform. I call it it's a digital wasteland out there, and that marketers continue to use traditional means of marketing when they should be using more personalized data to speak to you specifically and individually. In this last 6 months, that's become much better. But we need to understand that the path is a consumer-centric path designed to focus on the individual consumer. So understanding those behaviors, how they use the internet, how they use their devices, what type of devices they're using is absolutely critical. And so when we know that, we are a much more effective marketer and can engage people. So I like to say there's 4 key strategic pillars, these strategic digital marketing pillars. And I'm going to refer to these pillars throughout the day, okay? The first one is access. The second one is engage. The third one is advocate. And the fourth one is conversion or convert. And so as a marketer, we want to understand how we can attract our customers and where we can reach them in this out there, how we're going to get them interested in our brand and where they're living online. You know, who is out there in this digital landscape where we need to understand, and when and how do they have access to their various different channels. And if we know that, we can find ways to connect to them based on the data that we have. In terms of engage, we want to engage individuals with really kind of cool content that tugs at their heartstrings, makes them cry, makes them laugh, makes them angry at times. Okay, so engagement's about great content and very personalized content. So a lot of the hotels that you work in now, or you did work in, probably have what we call a community manager. That community manager, they may call it something else. They manage the community for that hotel, those that are being part of that hotel. And I've taught people in my class at Humber who go on to work for some of your hotels as community managers or digital marketers in their organization. And so what you want to do is you want to interact with these customers with content that they want to see. I like to call it the platinum rule. Do unto others the way they want to be done unto. Not the golden rule, which is great. It's a very inspiring rule in the Bible, but the reality is it's the platinum rule. So you want to send content, do unto others the way they want to be done unto. So give them content that they want specifically, and basically get them to be your fan, which just moves you along this realm of the next digital pillar, which is advocates. Anybody know what an advocate is?
Someone that supports something, they're really pro for it.
That's right. So if I'm your advocate, Andrew, and I'm talking to one of your classmates, it's just like, remember you as a kid, if your parents were talking to you about you downstairs, you probably sat at the top of the stairs to listen to what they were talking about, right? Because it made you feel good. And so in digital marketing, it's the same thing. You want to get your brand fans, those that love you, to talk about you. It's the most important part of marketing in the digital world today in this two-way platform. You want to get these individuals to converse and talk and interact and share your content as a marketer. So if you're working for, I don't know, maybe the W Hotel in New York City, and you're the marketing to social media, you want to get your people that love that hotel to share the content of all the cool things that are happening at that hotel, live and real and on time, right? And so advocating is a really important thing. Why? 63% of actual digital users believe it when you do that. Okay, they believe the message a lot more when somebody who loves the brand talks about it, opposed to the brand talking about the brand. So it's really critical that you can get really great advocacy happening, people to share the content or generating content. You can also use people. You can pay people to be your advocates. What's that called, do you think? Anybody know what that's called? If I pay somebody to be my advocate?
Social influencer.
Yeah, that's right. Social media influencers. Anybody know a social media influencer out there? Can you remember one?
Kardashian family.
Yeah, there you go. They're the big one. They have millions of followers. But there's an actual trend today. The trend is not to use these social media influencers, the big ones, but to use micro social media influencers, micro influencers. Micro influencers, you should remember this, have 3,000 to 5,000 followers. They have a very niche market who follow them and listen to them and engage with them and are active with them all the time. And so smart marketers, they say they worked for, I don't know, the Bijou or maybe the Marriott Toronto Hotel. They would work with a social media influencer that would have inspiration with those that come to that hotel based on the information they had. And they would use that individual because people are following, might be an Instagram social media influencer, that are people that will advocate on behalf of that hotel in a really cool way. It could even be a food blogger, right? That is got a smaller audience. People listen to that person, and they come into the hotel, and you use them to video some of the food that you're creating with some of the chefs, and getting that to really work for them and sending it out to their audience. They're sharing the content that they've created as an example. So that's advocacy. And then the final one is a bit of a no-brainer. It's conversion. You want to bring people along a line and get them to book travel online, either through an online travel agency like Expedia or Trivago or another form, or directly on, and this is, hotels love this, on the website, because they can track the usage and you can track where those customers came from, and then they can measure an ROI, right? A return on investment related to those marketing efforts that drove people to that website and got them to actually inspired them again to book some travel with them. Does anybody know what Expedia does to encourage you to book online? Let's say I searched the Deerhurst Resort, and I went on to Expedia and I investigated that and a couple of the other resorts up there, like Cleveland House or whatever. Then I went away from Expedia. I got off of it. What happens next, do you think? Anybody know?
If you have a profile, I think they send you a reminder. You were looking at this. So many people, like there's 5 people that have booked in the last hour. There's 4 rooms left at the last hotel you looked at, to sort of build that nervous feeling of maybe I should click and book now.
Yes, so that's Rachel, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel. Yes, absolutely. And the other thing they do on not hotels, but specifically airlines, is they start to raise the price. So they use kind of negative psychology to get you worrying. So little hint to you, if you're going to browse once, browse the second time with a different URL. Because they won't know who you are. You'll get the same offer as you had the original offer, because that offer is going to start to go up to get you to act and get you to do things and move you along the pipeline to purchase things. So these pillars I'll talk about. So you need to access your customers where they're living online based on their behaviors and the data that you have for them. You need to engage them with content that's just very authentic, very real, very good content and I like to say content is king. I'm not the only one that says that, but the reality is you're always content starved. You don't have enough content, and you got to continually cultivate and get others to help you with that content. In addition, you have advocacy, you get the brand fans to work for you, to share, you get the social media influencers, you pay them to work for you, and specifically micro influencers to move them along the chain and get them working for you. You can get other people like articles done for you. Okay, those articles will also help you and go from there. I see somebody put their hand up. Does somebody want to comment? Okay, that's fair. And then you move them on to conversion. So we're going to do a little exercise right now, guys. All right, this exercise is we're going to look at a study that I created back in 2013. It's still alive today. It's redone every year. And it's a study done by Kantar TNS, a global research firm. And basically this study looks at various segments of the digital world and how they use the internet online, how they use their mobile devices, what type of behavior do they have, and how they access the internet on an ongoing basis, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little video to introduce this to you, because you're going to find out very, very quickly that it's pretty obvious all online users are not the same. You're not the same. We've even found that already today in just a brief discussion with some of you. And the digital world is full of about different segments and personas of individuals. So we did a study where we classified them based on their behavior. We would take this data afterwards and we would myriad it with the data that our clients had. Everybody from Ontario Tourism, the Canadian Tourism Commission. We also did it with, that they would use this data with their segmentation data or other research they had done, and actual user data from their digital programs. And they would put it into a model which they would use to market out more specifically to individuals. So let's just take a look at this video. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. Okay, so your breakout rooms will have probably 4 or 5 people in them, and you'll be given a half an hour to talk about, actually less than that, 20 minutes to talk about these segments. And what I want you to do is identify which segment you think you belong to when I go through these segments right now. So you're going to talk about it. Then you're going to talk about how you would use these segments more effectively in your marketing efforts after you have this information about your customers, potential customer base out there. So let's just start off by listening to this video, and then I'm going to go in more specifically into each segment. You're going to listen really carefully because you're going to figure out by the behaviors I'm describing which segment you think you belong to. Normally, I would give you a survey to do this, but I like doing this exercise. It's fun this way. So here's the video that let's just start off with. Introduce this concept of digital life, which is a global study of how people use the internet and their mobile devices. It's based on this high consumption and low consumption, but let me just get out of this. I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and I'm going to open up the slide, the video for you. 1 minute, please. There we go. Okay, I'm going to reshare my screen, so 1 minute.
Als je een beeld wil schetsen van hoe de wereld...
Well, this is the wrong one. You guys don't speak German, do you? 1 minute. Do this one.
If you want to build up a picture of how the world lives online, you need to ask the right questions in the right way, combining people's pasts, how much time they spend here or there, what they buy and how often, with their futures, their quirks and tics, aspirations, needs and desires. Because it's only once you find out what makes one digital consumer tick and the other talk, that you are able to segment the world's online population into 6 distinct groups of people. 6 digital lifestyles that represent all the different ways in which people interact with the internet. And why? You see, some people use the internet to maintain relationships. Some simply to get things done. Others to make better decisions, preferring search engines and email as the fastest route to new knowledge. Then there are those who couldn't spend a night away from their beloved internet, the bloggers, networkers, shoppers, and stand out from the crowders. Those who won't let you get a word in edgeways, whether that's on a phone, messenger, social network, or simply face-to-face. And not forgetting all the people who, although new to the web, are more than ready to jump in with both feet or hands. After all, what really is the internet, other than the people who use it?
Okay, so that's digital life. Those are the segments. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share with you those segments based on, there's actually 6 of them. And I'm going to describe the behaviors and how they live online. And I want you to write them down and also figure out which one you think you belong to based on your own behaviors. It's kind of a self-exercise here. So here we go. You ready? You ready? Okay. So we start off with the influencers. So influencers are those that are not afraid of using the internet. They're not afraid of their data privacy. They are very savvy. They are, they're usually social media influencers in terms of they comment on all things and they give a point of view and they post things and people follow them. They're not afraid to shop online, do their banking and their mobile, they're very savvy. They're mostly, they have a digital wallet. All they do is they don't have a wallet. They use their mobile device. They have, maybe find their love interests online. They do gaming online. They may be a blogger. They do administration. They get their news. They do blah, blah, blah. They organize their life. They can't live without this thing. And their mobile device is attached to them. Okay. So this person, the big thing they are is people watch and follow them.
Hey, Ron, I'm going to interrupt you and just say, did you have something populated on your screen? Because we're still seeing your YouTube screen.
Oh, I'm very sorry. I thought this was up. Okay, I'm gonna get out of this, stop sharing and start resharing. So I did. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christy.
My pleasure. Just while you're doing that, I'm going to jump in and say, I noticed that the chat function for private chats amongst each other isn't really loaded. So while you're in your breakouts, we'll look at that. So you can chat to each other, top secret chatting behind the scenes. Yeah.
So this is the influencer, as I talked about. Again, they are not afraid to use the internet. As I mentioned, they're a heavy social media individual that will put a point of view out there. They have multiple social channels. They're probably a heavy Instagram user, even Twitter user. Again, they go shopping online. They're heavy usage. And they stream all their media. They don't have, all they have is a Wi-Fi signal in their house. They don't have cable television. Okay, so these are social media influencers. The second group are what we call communicators. And a communicator are social beings online and social beings offline. So you probably know somebody like this. They are always posting Instagram selfies and telling you where they are. I'm on the bus, I'm going here, I'm going there. And they have lots of friends online. They're also not afraid to use the internet. They look, they have heavy usage of Google and get their news and multimedia and love interest, just like the influencer. The difference between a communicator and influencer, though, is they're not really influencing others online. They're just out there developing relationships, communicating to others what they're doing. An influencer, on the other hand, who we just talked about, would be somebody that influences others. Okay, so that was the influencer, then the communicator. The third group are knowledge seekers. And knowledge seekers are individuals that are like Louise. So they aren't really involved with social media much. And they may have a channel, but they're not on it that often. And they may just have one channel like Facebook still. And they use the internet. These are knowledge seekers to get work done in their personal life and in their business life. And so they mostly are using email and browsers like Google. They may be finding knowledge through Bing or Google and just to find out ways to get work done. These are the individuals originally were the ones who kept their BlackBerry for a long time. Okay. And then they eventually had to get off their BlackBerry because it's not a very useful platform anymore. So this is the knowledge seeker. Again, they use the internet to get work done. The next group are networkers, and networkers have the largest social media audiences. Their core purpose is to try to continue to grow their audiences, communicate through social media and an email. And they are young executives trying to make their way in this world. So you may know some of these people. I know lots of them. In a lot of my classes I have a lot of these networkers in there. Okay. The third group are similar to the networkers. They're aspirers. And aspirers are people like who live in different parts of the world, but they don't have access to a high-speed line or a computer. They have access to the internet only through mobile devices. And therefore, they can only really communicate through email and social media. And they wish they could have access. They desire to have access to a computer. There's none of these usually in Canada. There may be some right now because there was a bunch of Syrians that came and they don't have a lot of means and access to the internet except through the hotels they were put in. But generally, this is an aspirer. The last group are functionalists. And functionalists are like my mom. Okay, so my mom got on Facebook 3 years ago. Did you know that the fastest growing social media platform is still Facebook? Can you believe that? And it is because of the seniors and baby boomers that are getting onto it. And they're getting onto it so they can connect to millennials and connect to their old friends, start socializing with old people. And these individuals are functionalists. They're really concerned about their privacy. They probably have a Band-Aid over the camera of their computer because they think people can watch them. They don't like to do mobile. They don't do mobile banking. They may not even have a real mobile device that is a smartphone. And they do lots of email, and that's basically what they do. It's like my mom. So there are 6 segments. Those 6 segments are located around the world, okay? Different places in terms of their population bases and the amount of people that are in North America. The big focus is knowledge seekers, networkers, and communicators. The influencers are in different parts of the world, real influencers, but we still have them in Canada, okay? So what we're going to do now is I'm going to break you out into breakout rooms. I want you to remember these segments. I hope you wrote them down. And I want you to think about what segments you belong to individually. And I want you to talk to your group about why you think you are in that segment. You'll listen to each member of the group. And then you're going to figure out, how would I market to the different segments that are in your group? What forms of media, in terms of digital target media, am I going to use to market those different groups of people? I want you to think about that and then just basically decide with your group when we come back online in 20 minutes, who's going to present that. Now you can present it any way you want. You can present it just talking this way. You can create a whiteboard and show that whiteboard. You can create a PowerPoint slide and show that PowerPoint slide, but you're going to have 5 minutes each group to talk about these segments and how you would use these segments as a marketer, because marketers need to use segmentation and personalized data to market more effectively to their market. Is that clear to everybody? Are there any questions before I break you out? Great, awesome. Okay, let's do this. Here you go. You're going to be put into a group. This is done randomly, so I'm not sure.
How will they know when to come back?
I will tell them they have a minute to come back, kind of thing.
And how do you tell them? It'll pop up on their screen, right?
It'll automatically come up into their screen.
Perfect. Woo! Time together. Yay! You can talk about everything but this.
Okay, 1 second here. More. Okay, guys, I just got to put you into the breakout room. Wait a minute, where did it go? I thought I had this right here in front of me. Huh.
And as we get better at this, you guys, like you normally would, you just start chatting. Turn on your mics and chat. He's just setting up your
I'm going to have to
breakout.
leave you and come back again. So 1 minute, hold on.
No problem. Any questions for me while we wait for that? I can turn my camera back on. Anything that anybody needs help with? I want to see more chitter chat. Yes, Sam.
Sorry, I
Samet.
have a question. I sent it to Ronnie, but I just wanted to know when he's saying
To
about
Ron or to our Ronnie?
no,
To
I'm sorry,
Ronnie
Ron.
Ron. Or
is
you,
that-
Ronnie? Maybe you're in charge today, Ronnie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he said to see what kind of social media mean you're gonna use to influence each of the 6 segments or the segments that we have in the group. So when he's talking about social media means, is he referring to like the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and okay.
Yeah,
Let's
certain
clarify.
people will appeal to certain channels, certain methods.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No idle chit chat. Don't want to talk about anything? No? Really? We're letting you off the hook.
Hi, everybody. I made somebody the actual moderator in this group, in this session, which is reason I can't put you into a breakout session. So 1 second here.
Do you guys see Facebook continuing to be the fastest growing platform?
For now.
It's crazy because I personally barely use it. So I was just really surprised to hear that.
Yeah, I don't post as much, but I'm still guilty of scrolling.
So,
Ron, I'm wondering to fix this. I'm going to jump in. Do you think that Ronnie should log out and log back in again?
yeah, so Ronnie, could you log out and then assign me as the host?
Because somehow, Ronnie, you logged in and you're in as a co-host. And you're the host and Ron Coughlin's the co-host. Could you both log out and you log back in, Ron?
Well, then